Bryan Carpenter is a veteran private military contractor. He works in the film industry as an armorer, trainer, stunt performer, and producer, and he is joining us live tonight. Bryan, I appreciate you giving us some time. My mind is blown with this report and this warrant revealing that Alec Baldwin was handed a loaded weapon on this movie set by an assistant director who indicated it was safe. Why would a loaded gun be on a movie set?
Well, there's absolutely no reason why a loaded gun should be on a movie set. And as some of the other interviewees have said, lots of protocol in place, lots of safeguards that would have to be, broken for that to happen. It's hard to speculate how such an occurrence could happen, but in order for a live round to make it into a weapon that fires blanks, in other words, that has no projectile in the end of the casing, there would have to be several steps that were either not taken or missed entirely.
Okay, so you're familiar with movie sets. This is what you do. Let's dissect those steps and the procedures and the protocols that are established and in place. Walk us through each and every one of them.
So if the scene called for the actor or actress to fire a weapon, then the first thing that would happen would be the weapon would be checked. It would be obviously a weapon that had no rounds in it. It would be cleared. The barrel would be checked with a light. You would actually go to the first AD, the DP generally, the actors obviously, and sometimes the key grip, let them check, make sure the weapon was safe. There was nothing that would allow it to be dangerous. Then at that point in time, whether it was going to be a blank round, which would fire and make sound, but have no projectile, and they would have the muzzle blast coming out of the end. It would be loaded with those blanks and then fired with safe distances taken into place and everyone out of the way. You would never have a moment where you would point even a blank loaded weapon at any cast or crew. And if it was loaded with a dummy round, which is a round that simulates a live round, it looks very much the same. Those rounds come from specialty prop houses such as ISS in California. Mm-hmm. And they have the and physical feeling that you know that those are not live rounds. Again, right back to the initial thing, we actually go through that same process with people on set confirming and double verifying that they're not a live round and they're actually blanks.
Whose job is it to oversee these established steps and protocols that are rigorous and thorough?
Ultimately, the armorer on set is hired by the props master, and then the props master is in charge of anyone in the props department, and the armorer generally falls under that category, unless, of course, on rare occasions, the armorer has their own department, which rarely ever happens. So ultimately, it would be the props master that was in charge of the overall safety of the firearms on set.
And as you said, actors are trained on the safety requirements and the steps as well before they're handed any weapon.
Not necessarily. That's it all depends on the production. I'm fortunate enough to work with good productions and good prop masters that follow safety protocol, and they know, where that needs to be in place, and they follow through with it. But so often, more often than not, there's very little of opportunity to train the actors with the firearms prior to shooting.
So it's the armorer. Bryan, I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me why in any circumstance, given the technology that we have, CGI, and the fact that even a gun with blanks would be on a set, let alone a gun that is loaded and handed to an actor. I think the biggest question remains, although we don't have all of the details, is whether or not this was an accident or if it was in some way intentional that steps were missed.
Right. You would hate to think that there would be, that would add even more tragedy to this already horrific event. But, it is hard to understand how a live round could make it into the firearm itself. And if that's exactly what occurred, then yeah, I mean, there should never have been
because it's prohibited, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because a live round is prohibited.
Well, right. There is, obviously on films that want to see realism, the muzzle blast and the effect of the firearm shooting a blank is, it looks good on camera. So in a lot of ways, it does beat digital effects if you're wanting to do it practically. But at the same time, there is never a moment where a live projectile, one that's capable of firing a projectile out of the barrel itself, is ever even anywhere near a movie set. I mean, in no circumstance. That's even if sometimes actors, want live fire training, they'll go and be taken to a location, do live fire training. Even in those circumstances, professionals will separate that to the nth degree. They'll have those weapons, use those offset, and never the two shall meet to come back on to an actual live active set.
Never the two should meet. Bryan Carpenter, we appreciate your insight. Thank you.